Three faces among a crowd of curious at the ritual homage of Thaipusam in Singapore. Two of the girls are strangers to these strange ways. The third, Vasantha, an Indian, is part of it all by birth, yet remains a reluctant onlooker. The group Vasantha has brought along includes her friend Anita, a Malay, and Alice, a Chinese. Like her, they're products of a 25-year social experiment in Singapore. Its success can be measured by the fact that the three of them are here today, together, watching with the detachment of tourists this spectacle of religious and racial zealotry. Anita, Alice and Vasantha are of the new generation. Singaporeans first, Malay, Chinese or Indian second. And like practically all Singaporeans, they are doing their bit to achieve the great goals the government has set for them. The Singapore of the 90s counts itself among the world's leading financial centres. Per capita income, it's second only to Japan in the Asia region. But on the reverse side, there is this. The constant barrage of government campaigns, exhorting an already regimented people to be cleaner, more courteous, to work harder, even mix with the right people, mostly to achieve. The government sponsors discos for Singapore's young and educated. Invited are the young achievers from the country's main racial groups. The Chinese, making up 76% of the population, Malays, 15%, and Indians, 6.5%. The government plays Cupid for them. The aim is not necessarily to get them to intermarry. Just marry someone their intellectual equal so they can breed better Singaporeans.
It's not natural. It's like, for all you know, maybe that guy is yours or that guy is yours. Because it's like an ulterior motive that you have. You don't go just to meet people, but, you know, hopefully to end up with one of them. And I don't think that's very right.
On the dance floor, the shop floor, even the bedroom, the Singapore government intrudes into people's private lives. And the man up there on the keyboards is instrumental in the way it does it. Jeremy Monteiro moonlights as a composer of government jingles and patriotic songs.
I've been involved in government campaign songs for a long time, and the ultimate dream for me is to be able to make as much money playing piano as I do, say, writing a commercial for a product or service.
While waiting for that day, Jeremy finds work here at the Ministry of Communications and Information. The director of the Psychological Defence Unit, yes, in Singapore there is such an office, wants Jeremy and his partner to enter a song competition marking Singapore's 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
With the Prime Minister involved in the project, it's clear what's expected. The type of jingoistic jingle already being shown on local television. A sort of, they said you'd never make it, but without Alan Bond and the tinnies of Swan beer.
There was a time when people said that Singapore won't make it, but we did.
There was a time when trouble seemed too much for us to take, but we did. We built a nation, strong and free, reaching out together for peace and harmony.
We, the citizens of Singapore, pledge ourselves as one united people.
Regardless of race, language, or religion,
to build a democratic society based on justice and equality,
so as to achieve happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation.
So then really what I've got to do is get some words that would be sort of talking like...
The same, but different.
the line of, you know,
That's the challenge facing Jeremy and his collaborator, Jim Atkinson, an Australian living in Singapore.
I think it should be a smaller sound, even if it's not a solo singer. Maybe a small group of guys, small group of girls, and build, you know.
Yeah, but you want to make sure that each group of people feels it's part of the total, right? So we need at one stage there to acknowledge there are different races and things.
And you know, I can play quite a bit with that, with instruments. You know?
Yeah.
You know, bring out all the different instruments.
Right, you get all your Malay.
Indian,
What's that one you do? The what's that thing?
This is the tabla.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one people, and I guess if we are one people, we are one country, one nation, you know, something.
Okay.
One people, one nation, you know.
Country. What, nation?
I think nation's better. One country, one nation.
Yeah, nation's a much nicer word, actually.
Yeah.
And then you can have, one Singapore. Something like that.
One Singapore. It is the ideal for which Singapore has been striving since self-government. An ideal considered so important to Singapore's economic future that the harsh measures enacted to combat these 1960s racial riots are still in force. The right to detain suspects indefinitely without trial, restrictions on freedom of speech, and government control of the media. For Singaporeans, those draconian measures were but a foretaste of what their first Prime Minister, Lee Kuan Yew, had in store for them. For 31 years, Lee Kuan Yew ruled, and ruled with little regard for what others thought. Pure democracy, he insisted, was a luxury in his country, a country just a tenth the size of Tasmania, but with 2.5 million people, and a country with very special, very Asian problems. The Singapore Lee created was in his image, a pristine place, an Asian fantasy land. Here, you are fined for littering, for spitting, or not flushing a toilet, and you are hanged if you deal in drugs. In the Singapore that is Lee's legacy, Alice, Anita and Vasantha can look like they've just stepped out of an SBS advertisement. The very models of multiculturalism. The Singapore they live in is clean, orderly, the trains run on time. It has no foreign debt, no homelessness, and according to a lot of Lee's critics, no soul. Lee inherited a neglected colonial outpost and remodelled rather than renovated. With his blessing, Western values and architecture uprooted Asia. A wonderfully chaotic Asian place was turned into an ordered, user-friendly metropolis. Tourists were appalled. But they didn't have to live with the third world plumbing or 8-to-a-bedroom housing. And Lee reckoned, rightly, that Singapore didn't want the tourists who came to take photos. It wanted those who came to buy the cameras. So it's only in pockets of the city that the old Singapore can now be found. In the new Singapore, the old is almost an embarrassment. It's being allowed to atrophy. In this city of the future, there's no room for nostalgia. Chinatown, once one of the great tourist attractions of all of Asia, has almost ceased to exist. Gone forever the unique smells. Gone too the contrasts. The idleness of some that balanced the industry of others. Like litter, slothful ways have been erased in the new Singapore. The Singapore of just 15 years ago was full of character and surprises. Like the undertaker's shop with merchandise and clients in full public view. And upstairs, old people waiting for death because to die at home was bad luck for their children. And anyway, it was more convenient this way for the undertaker. The shops, along with the practices, died when Lee Kuan Yew put the bulldozers through the slums of Chinatown. He built in its place these, block after block of them, a new Great Wall of cement. 85% of Singaporeans live in government-built housing. What 30 years ago was luxury living in Singapore has reverted to what it was. Only the slums now are high-rise. They're the exception, though. Singapore these days is architecturally so sanitised, you need reminding you're in Asia. Singapore, even now more than in colonial times, is an enigma. Not Asian, not European, not willing to fully embrace the ways of the West, not wanting to part with the customs of the East, trying to be something it's not, and getting away with it magnificently. At this garden party are the people who claim credit for Singapore's success. The ruling People's Action Party is having a get-together for supporters. And lowly parliamentarians like Lo Meng Si get to introduce their families to Goh Chok Tong, the new Prime Minister.
My family have not met you, so I thought they'd come and introduce Sydney, my wife. You have a busy time signing autographs.
As Lo Meng Si greets political cronies, the talk is not of numbers or question time tactics.